Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. NBA trade pitch sends Warriors a 14-time All-Star for Andrew Wiggins. The Golden State Warriors face a decision this offseason on whether to run things back with their current roster or potentially hit the reset button with a trade. All this is prompting plenty of speculation that the Warriors could explore a reunion with Phoenix Suns star Kevin Durant. Bleacher Report's Zach Buckley put together a trade for every NBA lottery team and has Golden State sending a haul to Phoenix for Durant. Andrew Wiggins is the headliner, but the Warriors are also sending Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody to the Suns as part of the trade proposal. Golden State is adding 2 first-round picks as part of the trade. Buckley suggested the Warriors may need to land the number 1 pick in order to entice the Suns to talk about this blockbuster trade idea. Golden State is projected to have the number 14 pick in the 2024 draft. Unless the Warriors land a top 4 selection, the pick will go to the Portland Trail Blazers as part of a previous trade. Let's take a look at whether this blockbuster trade proposal makes sense for the Suns or Warriors. So far, there has been little indication that Phoenix plans to explore trading Durant. Yet, we have heard rumblings from The Athletic's Shams Charania that Durant is unhappy with his role on the Suns. Despite a bloated payroll with Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, the roster netted 0 playoff wins this season. For the Warriors, the front office must consider whether to make one more run around their trio of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. If the Warriors have a chance to add a difference-maker of Durant's caliber without totally depleting their asset collection, it almost certainly involves landing the number 1 pick, Buckley wrote in a May 7, 2024 story titled, "One Trade Idea for Every NBA Lottery Team If It Wins Number 1 Draft Pick." Now, the Suns may still decide this is not enough for the 14-time All-Star, but the Warriors can expand this offer with more prospects and/or pick swaps if needed. That would be a steep price, but Golden State's need for a Stephen Curry co-star is substantial. And while the Warriors could consider alternatives, maybe those players wouldn't fit this system as snugly as Durant already has, Buckley added. During his 3 seasons in Golden State, the team made 3 finals appearances and won 2 titles, both of which saw the 35-year-old crowned as Finals MVP. As mentioned above, this is a significant package even without the Warriors' ability to land a top pick, an unlikely outcome. There are 2 questions that need to be considered for this potential deal. First, would Golden State consider bringing back Durant given his decision to leave for the Brooklyn Nets? Finally, Phoenix needs to decide how to handle Durant's future going forward. Durant still has 2 seasons remaining on a sizable 4-year, $194 million contract. The superstar is slated to have a $51.1 million cap hit next season. Wiggins may be the headliner in this package for the Suns, but Kuminga is the player with the most upside. Kuminga is coming off a breakout season averaging 16.1 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 2.2 assists per game in 74 appearances, including 46 starts. Draymond Green passed I on the NBA's made threes list? The explosion in 3-point shooting ushered in by Stephen Curry, alongside fellow splash bro Klay Thompson, has literally changed the game we all know and love over the past decade. Once Golden State proved that you could win a championship playing largely on the perimeter offensively, the entire league attempted to follow suit in duplicating that model. While no one has been able to do it quite like Golden State, what it produced was a lot of guys jacking up threes all willy-nilly and setting new records at breakneck speed. All that said, it's absolutely wild to think that Draymond Green will go down in NBA history as a more prolific 3-point shooter than Larry Bird. Nope, that's no typing error, Green has leaped over Larry Legend on the all-time 3-pointers made list. Without context, that all sounds like the biggest oxymoron in NBA history. But having played his entire career in this era where everybody jacks up threes at will, Green has surpassed a player who's considered one of the purest shooters ever to step on a basketball court. Bird is one of only 2 players to win the association's annual three-point contest 3 times. Former Chicago Bulls sharpshooter Craig Hodges is the other, but Bird was so good at it that he took the first 3 contests the NBA ever held. The Boston Celtics great also took home 3 consecutive league MVP awards in the mid-1980s as well. There was just something about Bird and the number 3. Larry Legend was one of the most feared shooters of the 80s and was known for trash-talking opponents, calling his shot Babe Ruth style, then telling you about it afterward. But having played in an era where the further you were from the basket, the worse that shot was considered, he's become somewhat of a footnote, statistically, in many three-point shooting metrics. But when you go back and watch Bird, it's easy to see why he was viewed as such a threat from anywhere on the court. None of this is meant to downplay Green because, knowing his style, it must have come as a shock to most finding out he'd made 650, and counting, threes during his career. For younger fans who have only heard Bird's name mentioned from time to time, more context always helps. Attempts per game tell a large part of this story. Green has averaged 2.6 three-point attempts per game to this point. Bird didn't even average 2 attempts per game back in the day, ending his career at 1.9. It's a case of 2 entirely different eras, but it's still crazy to see Green pass Bird on this list. The way he's shooting it this year, over 43% behind the arc, Green will pass a few more shooters before it's all said and done. This takes nothing away from what Bird accomplished, he just came along at a time when there was still an emphasis on getting high percentage looks and not showing your range. Had Bird come along a few decades later with such a wide-open game, there's no telling the kind of gaudy numbers he would have dropped on his ops. Spurs join list of teams interested in snagging Warriors' $30 million star, report. The Golden State Warriors probably can't afford to keep an aging Chris Paul on an expensive contract next season, and if they let him hit free agency this summer, they will face serious competition for the 39-year-old point guard. Already among the candidates likely to inquire about Paul's services are the Los Angeles Lakers, who currently employ his good friend LeBron James. However, NBA insider Mark Stein added the San Antonio Spurs to that list on Friday, May 24, via the Stein line. The Spurs and the Lakers keep coming up as potential suitors for the Warriors' Chris Paul if Paul becomes a free agent this offseason, Stein wrote. Paul's $30 million salary for next season becomes fully guaranteed on June 28 if Golden State does not waive him, or if the Warriors trade him to a team that decides to keep him. The Warriors, league sources say, are currently evaluating those options. The problem for the Warriors with keeping Paul resides in the reality that even if the team would like to pay him $30 million and figured out a way to do it, doing so would simply be irresponsible. Golden State was an NBA play-in tournament team that fell short of the actual playoffs by 2 wins. The roster is centered around a couple of stars climbing into their late 30s and a group of 3 or 4 young players who have all shown promise, but have yet to display true star potential. The Warriors may also try to retain Klay Thompson to keep the Big Three intact until their respective careers end. However, whether the Dubs do or don't pay Thompson to return, spending $30 million on a backup point guard nearing the age of 40 is just a bad business decision for a franchise already potentially staring down the barrel of a significant luxury tax bill. Paul isn't going to make the Spurs a championship team in 2024-25. However, his ability to run that offense better than anyone currently on the roster, as well as help with the development of Victor Wembanyama, the reigning Rookie of the Year, could lead to a bigger offer coming out of San Antonio than anywhere else in the league. The question contending teams, or ones that hope to contend next season, must ask themselves is whether Paul can still impact winning at a high level. It's hard to say exactly what he will bring to the floor night in and night out if he returns to a starting role, given that he played behind starter Steph Curry in Golden State for most of last season. Paul appeared in 58 regular season games and made 18 starts. He averaged 9.2 points, 6.8 assists, 3.9 rebounds, and 1.2 steals across 26.4 minutes played each night, per Basketball Reference. Those figures are down across the board from the 12-time All-Star's career numbers, which include 17.5 points, 9.4 assists, 4.5 rebounds, and 2.1 steals on 34.1 minutes of court time. The point guard's statistical totals would likely improve were he to join a team like the Lakers and once again assume a starting role. However, Paul has also been injury-prone in recent years, particularly in the playoffs, which makes him a riskier proposition. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Chris Paul? Leave your opinion in the comments.